everybody. I'm Bebo, and today I'm here with Carl of Final Frontier Games, and we're going to be talking about, whoops, my notifications are really loud, Merchant's Cove, which is probably the prettiest game I've seen in a really long time. I'm super stoked to talk about this. Carl, what inspired this
Hi.
project?
Hey, man, what inspired me? So I think it goes back to probably playing too many video games and always playing the hero or the villain and saying, let's switch this up and let's see what it's like to play the shopkeeper, having to deal with all those obnoxious heroes and villains. It's probably the original inspiration, and then just loving asymmetry. So I went after it and took it to the highest level I could think of, I guess, right?
Yeah, and it's so cool. The production value on these different components. I mean, every player has their own separate board. And on top of that, the innkeep allows you to put little meeples in bed. Like,
Yes, right. You got it. That's the gist of it. Yeah. So there's a lot of cool toy like components. The alchemist has marbles rolling down, and like you said, the innkeeper has beds, and there's little stands where you hold your goods. There's boats where the meeples can come in from the cove. So yeah, lots of good stuff like that.
really cool stuff all over the place. So, tell me a little bit about, the game and the world that it's set in.
Sure. So when I originally was designing this, several years ago at this point, I had just sort of thought of the typical fantasy tropes of the blacksmith and the alchemist, and the typical shopkeepers that you'd want to see and want to shop at if you were visiting like a village town in a fantasy world.
Mm-hmm.
But when I met with Final Frontier, we realized their portfolio was perfect because they already had the obviously amazing artist that they worked with for Rise to Nobility and Cavern Tavern.
Mm-hmm.
So when we put those pieces together, we realized, hey, this is a really good fit. We can set this in that same universe and leverage some of the same characters and use the same art style. So thematically, that's where it all sort of came together.
And it came together so unbelievably beautifully. Actually, let me show everybody the main Kickstarter page because this thing is just absolutely stunning. I cannot believe that. I mean, and so this is the sixth project created by Final Frontier Games. What
It
project
is.
number is this for you?
In terms of fully published games, this is my third. We self-published one prior to this called Kapow, which was a dice crafting, dice chucking, roll and play superhero game, which was a blast. Prior to that, my first published game was actually way back in the day during the sort of golden age of CCGs, like when Magic was at a full peak, and so was a lot of other CCGs. So those are the three games that are on the resume at the moment.
Awesome. So do you want to tell everybody a little bit about how you got into the hobby? Because I'm also
Yeah.
back from CCG days.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of us have our origins there. Um, yeah, I mean, I've always played games, right? I'm sure, like a lot of us, we talk to people. It's like they usually grew up playing games, and that was true for me. It wasn't like we were playing these super rich thematic games, but my family was always playing card games. We'd always play the traditional board games, and then I got hooked by Magic like a lot of people in that like 1993 94 time when I was also collecting comic books and my brother was collecting baseball cards and fell in full on in the Magic scene. It probably wasn't until like maybe 8 years ago I got back into the more traditional cardboard board gaming scene like we all play today.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was just that sort of normal track, and then I've always had the itch to design. I've always either designed card games, board games, or I've even dabbled in a little video games. So just like to do it.
Yeah, I definitely got hooked on board game-ish style games from like Final Fantasy Tactics when I was a little kid, and I was like, gosh, tactic games really got me.
Yeah.
My current like mobile addiction is still Fire Emblem Heroes.
Yeah. Like I think I probably have an addiction with every form of gaming at this point. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, I love tabletop gaming. I wish that I recently moved out of the city. I used to live in Seattle, and we moved out to Everett, and I need to make friends out here because I've been out here for like a year and a half, and nobody wants to drive all the way out here to play board games when there's, dozens of people in Seattle who are there ready to play.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I don't know if you're gonna have to get a bunch of Ubers in or something. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's just it. A lot of people don't want to drive.
Yeah.
So one thing that I really noticed about this is the extremely high quality components in this game. I'm just completely blown away. So what
Yeah.
inspired the creation of the boats to look, as elaborate as they do, and
Yeah.
the silkscreen printed meeples? All of these things are so cool.
Well, yeah. Thanks. I mean, I gotta give credit to where it belongs. I mean, Final Frontier. If you guys are familiar with their portfolio, they always do an amazing job on the components, and
Hmm.
credit goes to them and the developers who Johnny Pack and Drake, who are helping me a ton throughout this whole process, and they were bringing forth a lot of these ideas. And Final Frontier is really good at this. Um, and to be frank, I mean, I knew going into this that I needed that sort of help. So to know exactly what components work in the right places and to have this sort of ideation phase where we could really knock it out of the park, I knew I was going to need some other creative energy in the room. So they brought that in spades.
Yeah, we were actually doing a seminar this yesterday at PAX Dev, in which I was an expert on a panel about Kickstarter games. And one of the biggest things that we stressed was it doesn't matter how good you are at what you do, find other people who are good at the things you're not good at.
So I'm a huge believer in that. Yeah. So you have to know where your strengths are and
Hmm.
embrace other people that bring other strengths to the table. That's even within designers. When we design even Merchant's Cove or any game that we're working on, because we throw a lot out too. Even just having other like-minded designers around, just to really, um, you're never going to see everything, right? You need multiple eyeballs everywhere. So
Hmm.
I agree.
And this game on the Kickstarter campaign page, you have quite the like expansions here.
Yeah.
Do you think that asymmetry had a lot to do with that?
Yeah, so this game lends itself really well to that. We can get into some of the mechanisms and so forth, but the way this was designed was purposeful in that each little shop, being very asymmetric, plays its own little mini game, and what that allows for is like a modularity within the shops. My favorite part of the Kickstarter so far is that the people that are backing it in the comments section, they've picked up on this, right? They've picked up on the idea that it's like, wait a minute, you could plug any sort of little mini mechanism or mini game into this larger economic Euro style game, and it could work. So there's some amazing chains and some amazing ideas going on in the Kickstarter comments and on BGG already. Just sort of thinking like, what other shopkeeper could we make, and what would be the mechanism? So seeing them do that is really exciting. And I don't want to spoil anything, but there's some other stuff in the works still happening.
Yeah, and I mean, you've already raised nearly $300,000. Maybe I'm counting my chickens before they hatch, but you're
Should be.
almost there.
Oh, yeah.
And so with that kind of support behind this kind of project, we can really like get momentum going and look forward to future expansions. I mean, if you look at other asymmetrical games like Root, people
Mhm.
really get behind these kinds of projects because when something's asymmetrical, I really think that it speaks to the talent and the skills of the designers to what they can do mechanically, the balancing that they put in there, and also just the general care of the product.
Yeah, there's a lot behind it. I mean, certainly balancing comes up a big time on these types of projects. And yeah, you're right. I mean, another great part of this is that watching people chime in and be like, wow, did you guys really went for it here? And they recognize the ambition. And you're right. They sort of rally behind it. That's the great thing about the Kickstarter community is they want new things. They're looking for people that are trying to push the envelope. And you can feel that sort of energy. And that's been awesome.
Mm-hmm. So tell me a little bit about your team and how you all met.
Yeah, sure. So as it relates to Merchant's Cove, I was looped in through a friend. His name's Martin Poole, who is also on the internet and on Facebook quite a bit. We chatted here and there when Kapow was released. They did some reviews. He had been working on a game with them, Robin Hood, with Final Frontier. So he gave me the introduction. He thought it was a match made in heaven, um, and I think he was right. So it was, props to him for recognizing that. And yeah, we met that way. We had some really good phone calls with the Final Frontier team. And then it was a little bit later in the process that Johnny and Drake, who again, I just need to reiterate, they're really, really important to this whole creation process. They were brought in as developers, and I mean, I've developed these friendships very quickly over the past 6 months, but
Hmm.
they're just an amazing group of people. I couldn't have asked for a better team to work on this with me.
That's awesome. So how long has this game been in development from beginning to pub to Kickstarter?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, this goes back to 2016 at least. Like, I know I had a prototype in hand in 2016, and I started a development blog on BGG in that same year towards the end of it.
Hmm.
And it's, you don't need to go hunting for it, but for anyone who was part of that, and I did have a lot of people watching the development, you can see exactly what I mean by how much has changed. I mean, the overall vision was there from the get go, and a lot of the things I wanted to solve for in the game design are still there, which is a credit to Final Frontier and Johnny and Drake. But yeah, it's morphed a ton. But to answer your question, I guess it's been over 3 years. Yeah, so it's been a while.
That's awesome, though. It shows that you put a lot of work into it. What was the playtesting process like?
Yeah, intense playtesting, right? Because balance is huge. Understanding, making sure every shopkeeper is equal in power as possible, and prototyping this thing was an adventure. Uh, Going from playtest session to prototype and back and forth was really hard for this game because even in the early stages, compared to other games, the number of components that were involved for all the various shopkeepers, it was still very asymmetric at the time. So yeah, intense playtesting. I'm lucky. I have a little design group. We go by Two Ton Porcupine. That design group here, where I live in Connecticut, we spend many hours playtesting each other's designs, and it's really comforting because I can put anything in front of them, and they can tell me to my face how crappy it is, and it won't hurt my feelings. But those sort of constructive critiques that we have in this small group are really helpful for getting all the kinks out quickly. So
Hmm.
that's a huge bonus too.
And honestly, I think that having a playtest group with other designers, where not only can you be honest with each other, but more importantly, where you have basically like a room full of QA testers that you're
Yeah,
using for free, is like so critical to the design process. Because in video games, we pay QA testers, of course.
yeah, it's part of it. Yeah.
But in board gaming, a lot of the time that doesn't make economic sense for the amount of money with the small margins that we're getting. And so finding a
Hmm.
community in which you can basically trade playtesting and labor is
Yes.
basically integral to the tabletop gaming process.
Yeah, it's so important, and it usually comes down to like, okay, who's buying pizza tonight? Like, that's the
Yeah.
only economic burden that comes into play, which is great. And then we're also lucky here. Once we get past that first stage, where we live, we have 3 or 4 great game shops that are super welcoming to
Hmm.
designers. It's like we have the Portal in Manchester. There's one in Newington. So like, there's probably 3 within 30 minutes where we can go talk to the owners, and they're like, yeah, bring it in, and we'll get a couple new testers for you, or we'll play it ourselves. So
Hmm.
that kind of community is golden. It's so nice to have.
It's so important. So, what do you do as a career? And do any of your
Uh,
current skills help with your passion for creating games?
oh God, I'll put you to sleep if I talk about my real career. So I work in market research, which I love. I'll just say I do a lot of like consumer research on how people behave online.
Hmm.
Where it comes in handy is understanding how to talk to people, communicate, get answers. It's really helpful for play testing, for understanding how to get feedback from people. It's also good for mathiness because I spend a lot of time in data sets, so I understand how to apply data to solve problems. So I guess in those senses it helps, but they are pretty different. I mean,
Hmm.
it hasn't quite gotten to the point where I can pay the bills with board games. So
Right.
always good to have a real gig as well. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. It's really hard to make ends meet working in tabletop gaming, I think.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so somebody asked, or Bryce asked, do you have a favorite character that like you like to play as?
Yeah. So far, right now, it's the Alchemist. Alchemist is a very accessible character with a lot of good trade offs. Got a beautiful board with marbles that are basically the ingredients to brew potions. So it's got that potion explosion feel. There's some ingredients that are wild, which make potion brewing much easier, and you can really get your engine going faster. But the problem is those wilds turn into what we call ichor, which if it overflows, you start gaining corruption, which is a very problematic thing to have at the end of the game. So it's got this nice push and pull, as do some of the other shopkeepers. But right now, the Alchemist. And if I had to pick a second, I'd probably go with the Oracle right now and the Roll and Write, which is weird because I never really got on the Roll and Write train until recently, but now it's growing on me.
Okay, she's not on the... Oh, there she is. Sorry. Yeah. I'm trying to find her on the main page. That way people can see the components that go with it.
The 6th character we announced, as an expansion. Yeah.
I tried to pull up images of her a second ago, but for some reason my Alchemist buttons went to the Oracle instead of the Alchemist. I gotta fix that. Yeah. But each character having their own dishes and custom components is such a cool feature. I just want to show people off the captain miniature, and like each individual board being specific to the players is so cool.
It's a ton of fun. It's a ton of fun from design too, and we have a lot of great design sessions where we're tying the theme to the mechanism. And yes, we have a spinner for the captain, but it's a compass. I mean, how could you not have a compass when you're talking about navigating waters? So we love stuff like that where it actually ties together. The cool thing is the stretch goal at 300, which was just announced today, is that all of the individual goods for each of the 6 shopkeepers will get completely unique designs across each color of good at 300,000. So I'm really excited about that goal. That's a good one.
That is super cool. And we're so close. You're at 294, 367.
I'm not even looking at it. Yeah, I would never know.
I mean, if I were running the campaign, I also would not be able to look at it, but I'm not running the campaign, so I can look as much as I want, and it doesn't stress me out because I don't have to deal with that 607 comment section.
There you go.
Yep. So the way I want to close this out is I want to play the video for everybody. That way they know what they're getting themselves into, and then they can head over to the Merchant's Cove page and back if they would like to. At the very least, hit that remind me button so you don't miss out in the final hours of the campaign. I've posted the link above or below depending on what platform you're watching on. And I wanted to know, is there any other games right now on Kickstarter that you wanted to give a quick shout out to that you've been backing?
Yeah, I mean, I just backed it. Of course the name's going to escape me, but it's the most popular one right now by Ryan Lockett.
Sleeping Giants.
Sleeping Giants, I have backed. He's like an inspiration to me. I think for a lot of designers he is.
Yeah.
He's just incredible. And I actually just got my buddy Doug we finally got to the table near and far, and it was just, I was like, I gave it like a 7 or an 8 when I was done playing, but I think since I stopped playing, I'm like, no, that was a 9 or a 10.
Because you keep thinking about it.
It was really good. Yeah, it grew on me as I was like thinking about it more. So yeah, for me, that was an obvious one to go back.
Yeah, it's absolutely captivating. Personally, I prefer Above and Below to Near and Far. Primarily because mechanically it's a little bit easier for my daughter to understand.
There you go. Yeah.
Gotcha. But, with the whole my friends won't drive all the way up to Everett, I have, my built-in gaming buddy at home. And you have a 10-year-old too, right?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he's definitely becoming more of a priority as I think about what games I play too, because now he's getting to the age where he's actually becoming strategic and learning a lot of the skills you need to win. So yeah.
Yeah. Quick question: what is your recommended age range for this game?
Yeah, this is an asymmetric game, and it's probably, we're calling it light to midweight, but the asymmetry also in a way sort of has a steeper like early learning curve.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would probably say I want to say 13 and up is probably a good starting point, but it differs so much. You meet people that have kids that at the age of 8 are doing like high strategy games, so it all depends.
They're like 7-year-old Magic the Gathering players, and I'm like, kudos to you.
Yeah, well done, sir. Yes.
Awesome. Well, I'm gonna play the video for everybody. Thank you so much for joining me, and thank you everybody else for watching. Make sure that you comment below. I'll be back in just a minute to announce the winner of the game, because one person is going to get an all-in pledge. Comment right now below. That way you can enter to win. I'm going to go, while I'm playing this video, I'm going to go find a random comment generator. If one will work on Facebook, and if it won't, then I will just scroll randomly and pick someone. So,
There we go.
Yeah. I'll be right back. Check out this video and make sure you comment and you can enter to win an all-in pledge. And I can't pick myself, so it's got to be one of you. I'll be right back. Where's my video button? That's okay. I'll just,
Many years ago, the 5 realms descended into chaos. War swept the continent, and thousands of innocent civilians from all sides were forced to abandon their ancestral lands. A large merchant ship carrying refugees through the perilous strait was heavily damaged in a thunderstorm, taking safe harbor on the sandy beaches of present-day Merchant's Cove, the Pearl of the 5 Realms. There is a lot of speculation about how Merchant's Cove came to earn that nickname. I asked some of the local shopkeepers what they think about it.
Aye, Merchant's Cove is a pearl all right. She was formed under pressure from the dirt cast aside by the 5 realms. She now shines brighter than any city on the mainland. Look how she's nestled into the safety of this mountainous oyster shell.
It's the people who live here. Most of those who call this place home are genuine, honest folk. And those who aren't keep to themselves. Usually, at least.
People come for the rare merchandise, but they stay for the illustrious faction halls, the Wizard's College, the Bardic Academy, the Warrior's Lodge, the Ivory Tower, even the Lair of Shadows. If you're into that sort of thing, low taxes, lax laws, kickbacks from the local merchants, what's not to love?
Could you come back later? The wizard is kind of, busy at the moment.
Merchant's Cove is an asymmetric Euro-style game where each player represents a different fantasy merchant. The merchant who is farthest back on the clock performs an action, spending precious hours to do so. As the players proceed through the day, the ships at sea will begin to fill with customers. Once the final customer is placed on a ship, select the market pier for it to dock at. This ship full of customers establishes a demand for the goods you and your rival merchants have been working so hard to make. Spend your days recruiting staff members to put to work and crafting goods to sell to the customers at the piers. Each merchant creates goods in an entirely different way. Let's visit them and learn a little about each. The alchemist skillfully extracts essences from her decanter, brewing them patiently in cauldrons to be bottled as potent potions or elixirs. The blacksmith loads his forges with coals and metals, keeping masterful control on the heat as he smiths them into masterful weapons and armor. The captain relies on her cursed compass to navigate the rough seas surrounding Merchant's Cove. Ever industrious, she uses her ships to search for treasures and ship's seafood to sell by the seashore.
Hey, sorry about that. I think Mr. Gray is ready to see you now.
Update, close the door, quickly, now! The space-time continuum is leaked!
Okay, and we are back now, finally. And I have found a random comment generator and discovered our winner. So initially, I ran the random comment generator, and it found the number of unique commenters, and then it picked one, and the winner was me. But I told you before that I can't win. And I was like, these old games can't win this one. So the real winner of our contest, I'm happy to announce, is Olivia Montoya. So Olivia, if you send me a message, I'll get you in touch with Carl, who will then get you your free all-in pledge. I'm so excited for you. And then this video will be up on YouTube tomorrow for anybody who missed it. Unfortunately, you can't win tomorrow, but I'm excited for Olivia, and thank you so much, Carl. This was awesome. I'm really stoked about your game, and I'm excited for everybody that is backing it. They're going to end up with like really an artistic masterpiece in their home.
Thank you. Yeah, good chatting with you. Thanks for letting me come on and talk. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and I'll see you actually at 7 p.m., so just in a couple hours. I'm going to go make some YouTube videos, so my background will be messier for the next showing. But I'll see you all at 7 p.m. Bye!